What's up, guys? Dale Valor here from Modern Valor Dating. Listen, we are extending our series on calibration, all right? And why is calibration so important? Well, I'm gonna break it down like this. I believe the game comes down to three simple concepts, all right? You have inner game, and that's who you are. Outer game, that's what you do. Calibration, when and how you do it, all right? So that's what we're going to be talking about. I have not seen a whole lot of video on calibration out there, so I wanted to break it down because I believe it's so important, man. We got a whole series going on it, and what we're going to do on this one is I'm going to give you three situations where I had to calibrate to the situation, and I want you to see if you can recognize how I did it. All right, so here's the deal. What I want you to do is, in the comments below, put out there how you calibrated to a situation and how that made the difference. All right, we're gonna hop into it right now. Let's go. Number one, my first sex party. All right, so here's the deal. It was a fall evening, and a girl that I was seeing at the time, we started getting involved in the BDSM community here locally. This particular group, they would throw events often, and in particularly at somebody's house, right? It was a huge house, and they would throw these big events at them. And it was cool. Like, I really didn't know what to expect. I had never been to anything like that. I was delving into the community and getting to know people and reading material on it and stuff like that. But I had zero expectations. I didn't have any idea what to expect. So we get there. Now, I'm not a shy dude, and I really don't get nervous about stuff like that, but I did have a little bit of nervousness just because I didn't know what to expect as far as protocol was concerned. And I was thinking to myself, how can I run game at this particular event? Okay, how can I get to know some of these women? Like, what is the landscape gonna look like? Is it gonna be like a sausage party where there's like 1,000 dudes and like 2 girls? You know, like, what is this gonna look like? What kind of frame should I put out there? How should I carry myself? All that kind of stuff. And so initially, see, now the girl that I was kicking it with at the time, she was into girls and things like that too. And so the hope was to, like, get something popping, right? Well, thing was, we didn't know what to expect. And she's taking my lead because I'm the man and we're at this new environment and things like that. And I'm generally more social and things like that than she is. So the idea was, let me go around and kick it with people and get to know them and all that kind of stuff. My initial thought was, let's sit back a little bit, not really talk to too many people for maybe like 20 minutes. And just kind of like get the full scope of the environment, what was going on, and all that kind of stuff. We started to do that, but then people started to come up and introduce themselves to us. Then we got pulled into groups, not sexually, but just, to talk and, oh, you got to meet my friend such and such, and blah, 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 blah. All that kind of thing. Well, the thing is that I was like, all right, so let me start running my game the way that I generally do game. That fell flat on its face, all right? It just did not land. What I came to realize was, through calibration, this is not like a normal party or club or something like that in the sense of, building attraction. Because people are more sexually liberated and are just kind of like down to fuck, more or less. You don't have to put all that sexual energy in and try to build attraction and all that stuff. So I was working way harder than I needed to, and the girls I was talking to was kind of like, like, oh, excuse me, my friend just pulled up, I gotta go talk to her, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it just wasn't landing, and I'm like, man, why is this not working? So what I came to realize was, all right, I just need to be super duper friendly. And because that was, when I was looking at the people that were like really going around being social and building, like seemingly women were into these guys and stuff like that, it was just because they were just friendly. That was it. And so, which is like almost the exact opposite of what you would do in a normal situation. So, not that you shouldn't be friendly, but you know what I'm saying. Teasing and cocky, funny, all that stuff just doesn't land there, all right? So basically what I started doing was going around and talking to people, women, and just having a very, very, very platonic conversation. I wasn't doing keno, I wasn't escalating or anything. We would just have a good conversation and then pretty much be like, well, listen, you're really attractive. You want to hit this room over here? Okay. And then you just get in there and get it popping, you know? And it's like so adverse to what you expect in the normal world, but it had to happen that way due to calibration. I had to figure it out. So here's the deal. This is where the calibration part of this comes into play. It comes into play from observing, taking a temperature of the room, and not trying to ram what I'm used to down people's throats. I had to adapt to the environment, and then the environment adapted to me once I did. That's the calibration part of it. So we're gonna hop into number 2. Let's get it. Number 2, my celebrity girlfriend. All right, we're not together anymore, and this was several years ago. I was at a house party, and I had no idea who she was, and I'm not gonna say who she was. I'm there, and I'm going around talking, and I didn't have any idea who she was, and had I not met her, I still wouldn't have had any idea who she was. So the thing is, I'm at this house party, and she's standing over there, and she's talking to some people, and I go over there and start, you know, injecting myself into that conversation because she was pretty, you know, and turns out she was a little bit older than what I normally date. These other people knew who she was. Now, a couple of them were either friends or acquaintances or something like that. And anyhow, so I'm injecting myself into this conversation, and we just start talking. Right? And I start running some cocky funny frame on her, you know, like just kind of just lightly busting her chops, treating her like a kid sister and things like that. And then we get, you know, she's laughing and, you know, like doing like the playful punch in the arm and like, oh my God, you're so funny. This is hilarious and things like that. And then I made a observation about her. I said something to the effect of, I was like, you strike me as the type of girl that likes entertaining people. And she's like, oh my God, you totally nailed that. I'm an actress. And I was like, really? Like community theater or something like that? And she was like, no, I'm actually on a TV show. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I just totally flipped the script and went a different way with it. I didn't imbibe her saying that because that's what every guy does. And that's the calibration part of it, right? Because the thing is that I know what every other guy does. Oh my God, really? What show are you on? Oh, I love that show. You know, and now that guy has put her on a pedestal and that's not what she wants, right? So I just kind of glossed over it. Now we circled back to it later and she started breaking it down for me as we kind of got to know each other a little bit better throughout the course of the evening. But I didn't act like it was a big deal. And I kept, you know, busting her chops, you know, throwing little jabs at her and stuff like that, you know, just joking around with her and things like that and amping up the keno and not acting like I was intimidated by this, all right? And I mean, I really wasn't. I didn't know who she was. She's not an A-list celebrity or anything like that, but the thing is, most guys are intimidated by such things. So that's where the calibration part of it comes into play. I know how these other guys operate, therefore, I need to go in a complete and utter opposite direction of that. And I will tell you, now I've dated a few different girls that you could call celebrities. Are any of them A-list? No. Are any of them, you know, household names? No, okay? But they've been in stuff, all right? And the thing is what they've all told me, and there's not that many, so don't get it twisted. I mean, we're talking about like 3. What they all expressed to me is that the reason that they liked me, because trust me, you know, they could get with some Hollywood actor or something like that very easily, you know, and as a matter of fact, that was one of the things that all of them told me is like, look, when you are an actress in the position that I'm in, it's very, very, very difficult to date because you have either the A-list male actors who are attractive and everything, but they just want to bang you, and that's it. Or if they're not in the, you know, in the game, in the industry or whatever, then they put you on a pedestal and you're some kind of prize to be had, you know, like a big game hunter or something like that. Or you have just your average everyday guy who's just going to put them on such a high pedestal to start pandering to them and everything that they're just not going to find that attractive, you know. And that's what she liked about me, and that's what the other girls that I've dated have also said is that I didn't let on to that. I treated her like a normal person, and it was refreshing and attractive. So believe me, man, when you question if, like, oh, should I just be nice to this girl, or should I, be playful and joke around with her, go that route, man, because you're not going to offend her. She wants to be treated like a normal human being, not like some angel, all right? So that's where the calibration came into play. All right, we're going to get number 3. Let's go. Number 3, having a gun pulled on me. All right, this isn't exactly dating related, but calibration is across the board. Okay, it's not, you don't just put it in the dating box or the pickup box or the game box or whatever you want to call it. This is something that you should use as a skill set across the breadth of your life. It's kind of dating related, this story, but not really. So there was a girl that I was seeing, and it's not one of my better moments, and I'm not proud of it by any means, but we got into an argument. Usually I can keep my cool, but just something about, and I don't even really remember what we were arguing about, but something just like really struck a nerve with me. And normally I don't argue, I don't put up with that, but like I said, not one of my finer moments. We got into a beef, and we were just going back and forth, yelling at each other. I totally lost my cool in that situation, right? So the thing was, I had enough, and I'm like, all right, I'm dipping, I am out of here. And she was like, no, you can't leave, don't leave. And I'm like, no, fuck this, I'm out. So I walk outside, and it's nighttime, by the way. And it was pretty late. It was probably like 2 or 3 in the morning, something like that. And I know that like us yelling and stuff probably woke up the neighbors and things like that. Like I said, I felt bad about it. But I go to leave, and I'm walking to my car, and she's like following me out the door and everything, and I get in my car, and she sits on the hood of my car. Now I'm pissed. I can't go anywhere. This girl's on the hood of my car, and so I'm like, what do I do? So I'm just kind of waiting it out, and I start honking the horn and things like that. She's not moving. It's super late at night. At least the one saving grace, I guess, is that it was like a Friday or a Saturday night. It wasn't like, Tuesday when people got to, everybody's got to get up for work and all that kind of stuff. But still, not acceptable. So I'm just like, all right, whatever, fine. I get out of my car. So we're going to have a conversation outside. So we're talking outside, and it was loud. It was still loud, it's still heated, still a loud conversation. Out of nowhere, this guy just pops up. Had to have been one of the neighbors. I don't know who he was. All right, but this guy pops up. He's got a pistol on me, all right? And I don't know if he thought that like I was hitting her or, some kind of domestic, abuse going on here or something like that. Wasn't the case at all. And what was funny to me was how the vibe of everything just totally flipped. Like, I wasn't even mad anymore at her. I was mad at him. And once the situation, was alleviated itself, me and her were like cool, like we thought it was funny and stuff. And we actually went back in the house, and we was like, the cops were rolling by real slow and all this stuff because there's something, like somebody had called the cops apparently. It's very obvious. But anyway, he starts yelling, get down on the ground, put your hands behind the back of your head, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, man. I was like, are you a cop? And he's like, I said, get down on the ground. And I was like, I'm gonna ask you again. Are you a cop? And he's like, just get down on the ground. And I was just like, man, you ain't no cop, man, fuck this. And so I just turned around and I started walking back. Now, here's where the calibration part of this comes into play. I kept a level head in that situation. I could have flipped out. I could have, I would have been stupid to try to attack the guy or something like that, but the thing was I could have got down on the ground. The cops could have came. I might have got arrested just on the strength of people were yelling in the street and maybe they think like there was some kind of abuse going on or something, anything could have happened. But I kept a cool head. I took a temperature of the situation, and now don't get it twisted. It wasn't like, all right, what's going on here? Let me think this through. I mean, it just kind of naturally just happened that way, but it was calibration nonetheless because it was internalized, you know, and it, you know what? And I learned something about myself that day because that was the first time someone had a pistol on me like that, okay? And I didn't freeze up. I didn't act crazy. I didn't get scared or anything like that. I just reacted in the way that I saw appropriate for that time. And you know what ended up happening? We ended up going inside, laughing about it, like making fun of that guy. And you get on the ground, get on the ground. And then everything was fine. Everything was cool. So that's where calibration comes into play, is knowing what to do. All right, and how to do it. So listen, guys, we have a whole video series on calibration, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to go back to that first video, work your way through, start learning calibration. You're just gonna level up in so many ways by understanding calibration and applying it, all right? So I will see you there.